So today we're going to be testing these 10 grease guns here. I'm going to use this tester I built, as you can see here, with a 15,000 PSI gauge. Everything here is rated for 10,000 PSI, of course. And I do have this porta power on the end here. That way I can go ahead and relieve the pressure in the line when we switch to a different grease gun. Also, we're going to go ahead and test flow under load. So I have this hydraulic relief here that's rated for 1,500 PSI. We'll go ahead, plug it into this, and get, of course, the flow under load. But before we do that, let's go ahead and look at these real quick here. The new Hercules, Makita, Bauer, M18, Lincoln 1882, the Hart, the Dewalt, the M12, Ryobi, and the Rigid. So also I will be testing these alongside my snap-on here. As you can see, it's an older generation, and that's what prompted me to look at upgrading. Now this is using a nickel-clad battery, so of course, with that being said, it's pretty old, doesn't last very long. Now all do have LEDs, except for the M12. There's no LED on the front there to give you a little extra light. All come with strap connections here, so you can hook a carrying strap on. Now, the Hercules, Bauer, and the Dewalt here have a variable speed trigger, while the Makita, Milwaukee M18, Lincoln, and the Rigid all have a high-low 2-speed setting. All of these grease guns here are capable of bulk filling instead of having to use cartridges. And they all have some sort of holder on the side, of course, to hold that hose tight to the grease gun when you're done. Now with the test, we're going to go ahead and run these with a 2 amp hour battery and then, of course, a high amp hour or high capacity battery if available. All right, so now I'm going to run it for 10 seconds. Then we're going to weigh and see how much grease. Of course, it pumps in 10 seconds. Again, this is 1,500 PSI. Once we get up to 1,500 PSI, then I'm going to start the timer like we did before over there, 10 seconds. We're going to weigh that and see how much volume of grease we get in 10 seconds under load. So here I did this for all 10 of the grease guns. And here are the results. So first we're going to do the snap-on here. So here I ran all 10 of the grease guns now, some with the lower spec battery, of course, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 amps. Then with the higher amp or even the higher performance batteries up near 4 amp hours and above. Makita with the 2 amp hour. And here you can see the data from the results of running this test. Okay, so you've seen all the data. Let's go ahead, narrow this down. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put the Dewalt in the last position. One, coming in at $230 just for the tool is quite expensive. And then when you look at the performance, it's not that great. But one of the biggest things that I don't care for is the external relief right here. So all 3 of these, because of course the Hercules and Bauer are almost a copy of this Dewalt, you know, they all have that external relief. So if there is a chance that you do meet that relief threshold, of course you can see you're going to be pouring grease out that relief, out the front of the grease gun, makes for a mess. That's my biggest drawback to all three of these, is having that external relief. And then, of course, the Dewalt here being one of the higher expensive ones with not so great performance. Now, yes, if you're running the Hercules or Bauer line, you may consider these because of the price. But one thing I would like to point out is, if you've seen from the data, if you're running the Bauer, you're definitely going to want to use the 5 amp hour battery and not the 1.5 amp hour battery. Overall, when we tested the batteries, performance seemed pretty much the same. No matter if we used a higher amp hour or higher performance battery versus a 2 amp, or in this case 1.5. But when it came to the Bauer, you can definitely see quite a bit of drop in performance using this 1.5 amp hour battery. So 7th place I'm going to give to the M12. Yeah, performance was not that great compared to the rest there. Definitely at the bottom end when it comes to max PSI. Now, yes, if you're only running the M12 platform, it'll work. One thing I'd like you to keep in mind, though, is you can see this has a push button style vent here on the front, and you can see there's some buildup around that. So not the greatest. I would prefer a screw style versus that. 6th place, Ryobi here. Yeah, overall pretty good performance. Did quite well. I mean, if you're running the OnePlus line, yeah, I think you definitely go ahead and pick this up. It's got the screw style breather. Not much more I can say. You've seen the data. 5th place, I'm going to give it to the Lincoln here. Now you're going to tell me, well, from the data, yeah, it didn't score very well at all. And I'm going to say yes. But I want you to keep in mind here what this brings to the table and why I think it gets 5th place. So this is the only grease gun with a screen on it. And when we light this screen up, you can see we have battery level here. We have it in high, so we can go between high and low there. And we also have at the bottom here, ounces. So you can hold this one button here and it will zero it. To me, if you're in an application, you know, if the book says it wants 1 ounce of grease there in that bearing, you can do that with this gun and, you know, roughly, pretty confidently, how much grease is going into that bearing. So for assembly stuff, to me, this is definitely the cordless grease gun to have. Now, that being said as well, you can also use that readout to understand how much grease is left actually in the tube, in the gun. So of course, if you don't erase that, then it's going to give you a displayed reading over time of how much grease has been used. So that's another pretty cool feature of that as well. Yeah, the negatives, performance, and of course you're going to have a battery and a charger that only fit this grease gun. So of course 4th place is going to go to the M18. Yeah, you got 2 speeds, and you also have a cycle selector here. So of course you can put it on, or you can go all the way up to 50 cycles. Now from my test, it's about 0.5 gram of grease per cycle, about the same on high and low, which is interesting. Now the Rigid has the same feature, but from the testing, it ended up being about 1 gram. To me, the reason it's in 4th place is the price. And again, also this push button, you can see bleeder here. 3rd place, overall pretty good if you're running the Rigid line. Again, 2 speed. You do have that selector for how many pumps. This is the only one that comes with a 90-degree adapter that can go on the end there. And it does have that screw on the front here as well. So you're going to ask me why this is in 2nd place. Mainly because the performance is right up there with the rest, as well as the price is the lowest. So to me, this is the budget cordless grease gun. Now, some are going to argue, yeah, you're probably not running a Hart line, but if you're looking for the budget gun, I'm going to tell you this is the one. Now you just have the on-off trigger, and you have that screw style. So you've seen all the test results with the data there. Number 1 is actually this Makita. So what's impressive is the max PSI and the flow. I mean, a max PSI of 11,700 PSI with a flow rate under load of about 9 ounces. Now again, it does have high-low. You can leave it in high. It'll automatically shift low if needed. You have the screw style breather, and you do have an external relief, but I mean, I don't have any pouring out like on, of course, that Dewalt, Bauer, and Hercules. So just keep it in mind, it's probably going to build up a little debris there because of that being external, but you can see it's not as messy as those other three. Now, I will say this is interesting what they've got going on here. It almost makes me think they're going to adapt this to work with the 12-volt line as well. And it's one of the few that did come with the strap. And there's also 2 strap mounts, of course, one on the front here and one on the back. A little bit different than the rest of the grease guns there. Most are only suspended from about here on the handle and then, of course, on the face. So there you have it. Overall, yeah, number one's going to be the Makita. If you're looking for a budget gun, you're definitely going to want to check out the Hart, probably the Ryobi, and the Rigid. If you're running Milwaukee, go with the M18, and the Dewalt is overpriced in my book. So if you're looking for some more data, model, warranty, where it's made, stay tuned here, and I'll show you guys that data. But for the rest of you guys, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you on another one. So here with the grease guns all laid out, you can see the difference in length of the hoses. The weights, if you're curious, with and without a battery.